The sun was setting over the North Carolina highway as Staff Sergeant James Miller pulled his dusty blue Ford pickup into Wilson's gas station. The small station stood solitary, its neon sign flickering weakly in the evening gloom. James, fresh from 15 months in Afghanistan, felt an odd sense of normalcy in the quiet surroundings. His crisp uniform still bore the dust of distant battles as he filled his tank, eager to surprise his wife Sarah and 6-year-old daughter Emma, who weren't expecting him home for another week. The evening air was warm and humid, filled with the faint scent of barbecue and pine. James, stretching his lean frame, couldn't help but think of his family. Emma's crayon drawing of their family, neatly folded in his wallet, brought a smile to his lips. As he pumped gas, the distant growl of motorcycles broke the tranquil silence. 3 bikes roared into the station, their riders, leather-clad and imposing, circling the pumps before parking haphazardly near the store. James, calm but alert, instinctively noted their movements. The leader, a massive man with a grizzled beard and "Road Devils NC" patched on his vest, called out sarcastically, Well, what do we have here? One of Uncle Sam's toys?" Ignoring their taunts, James finished at the pump, his military training keeping him composed. As the bikers swaggered into the store, James sighed, knowing he needed water for the road but bracing for trouble. Inside, the bikers scattered, their loud antics unsettling Frank, the elderly clerk behind the counter. James entered quietly, nodding politely to Frank. The leader, Bear, zeroed in on James, his voice dripping with mockery. "What's a hero like you doing out here?" He crushed a bag of chips for emphasis. James, maintaining his composure, reached for water. Spike, a bald biker, deliberately blocked the coffee station. Snake, the wiry one in a bandana, slammed cooler doors. "Can't answer, huh?" Bear sneered, stepping into Jame's space. When Bear grabbed the flag patch on Jame's uniform, tugging at it with disdain, Jame's demeanor shifted. The soldier removed Bear's hand with firm precision. "Walk away," he said evenly, his eyes hard. Bear laughed, but his bravado faltered. "What are you gonna do, soldier boy?" Spike jeered, moving closer, while Snake revealed a knife, its blade glinting. Bear spat, taunting, "Your dead buddies are better off. Don't have to pretend to be heroes." That was it. With trained efficiency, James neutralized Bear's attack, stepping aside and using his momentum to send him sprawling. Spike charged, but James deflected him, sending him crashing into a shelf. Snake lunged with the knife, but James disarmed him with a precise hold, leaving the knife clattering to the floor. In less than 30 seconds, the bikers were on the ground, groaning in defeat. James, unscathed, adjusted his uniform. Frank, shaken but impressed, had already dialed the police. The police arrived swiftly, led by Officer Sarah Martinez. Reviewing the security footage, she commended Jame's restraint. "You handled that perfectly, Sergeant," she said, recognizing his Special Forces insignia. The bikers were arrested for assault and other charges, their tough guy image shattered. The story spread quickly. Frank, now a local hero in his own right, retold the tale with pride, replaying the footage for anyone who asked. The incident became a training example for military and law enforcement alike, a testament to discipline and de-escalation. As James finally arrived home, Emma ran out to greet him, her joy washing away the evening's tension. Sarah's tearful embrace reminded him why he fought, and why he would always be ready to protect what mattered most. As James stepped into his home, the warm light from the living room enveloped him. Emma clung to him, her small arms wrapped tightly around his neck. "Daddy!" "You're home," she exclaimed, her voice full of excitement. Sarah stood in the doorway, her tear-streaked face glowing with relief and happiness. She hurried forward, embracing James and Emma together. James set Emma down gently and pulled Sarah close. "I wanted to surprise you," he said softly, his voice heavy with emotion. I missed you both so much. We missed you more, Sarah replied, her voice breaking. You're home now, and that's all that matters. The events at the gas station already felt like a distant memory. As James sat on the couch with Emma on his lap, she eagerly showed him her drawings and school projects, chattering away. The sight of her innocent joy made his chest tighten. For so long, he had fought to protect moments like these. Later that night, as Emma finally fell asleep, clutching the stuffed bear he had brought her, James and Sarah sat together on the porch. The summer night was quiet, the stars bright overhead. He told her about the bikers, about how quickly the situation had escalated, and how he had resolved it without a single unnecessary act of violence. Sarah listened, her hand resting on his. You've been through so much, she said. I don't know how you stay so calm, even in moments like that. James shrugged. Training, I guess, and knowing what's worth fighting for. He looked at her, his expression softening. This, you, Emma, that's all that matters to me. The story of the gas station encounter spread throughout the local community. Veterans, both young and old, rallied around it as an example of true discipline and the values they stood for. At Frank's gas station, a new sign hung by the door. Veterans always welcome. Free coffee. Every week, the store became a gathering spot for servicemen and women, a place to share stories and camaraderie. Officer Martinez, meanwhile, added the security footage to the local police academy's training materials. This, she told recruits, is how you de-escalate a situation with precision and control. No unnecessary force, just pure skill and professionalism. The Road Devils biker gang held an emergency meeting. Bear, Snake, and Spike were expelled from the group for their reckless behavior. Their pride had been broken, and they learned the hard way never to underestimate someone based on appearance. Weeks later, James was back at Fort Bragg, adjusting to the rhythm of life post-deployment. His story had reached the upper ranks, and his actions were being used as a case study for training new recruits. James himself preferred to keep his focus on his family, attending Emma's school events, and savoring the simple joys of life that had felt so distant during his tours. One evening, as the family sat around the dinner table, Emma looked up at her dad, her voice full of pride. Daddy, when I grow up, I want to be strong and brave, just like you. James smiled, his heart full. You already are, sweetheart, he said. And no matter what, I'll always be here to protect you. The quiet strength that James carried wasn't just about his military training. It was about his unwavering dedication to his family and the values he lived by. He had fought wars overseas, but his greatest victory was finding peace and purpose at home. And that was more than enough. As the days passed, life began to settle into a new normal for James. The transition from a war zone to home life wasn't easy, but Sarah and Emma were his anchors, grounding him in the everyday moments that mattered. Each morning, he helped Emma with her schoolwork before dropping her off at school. And in the evenings, he joined Sarah in the kitchen to cook dinner, savoring the mundane routines he had missed for so long. The story of the gas station encounter continued to ripple through the local community. Frank's gas station became a symbol of respect for veterans. Journalists and local TV crews visited the spot, turning Frank into an unlikely celebrity. He relished the attention, recounting the story with the pride of someone who had witnessed a moment of true character. At the local VFW, Veterans of Foreign Wars post, James was invited to speak at their next meeting. At first, he hesitated. Talking about his experiences, especially about what happened overseas, wasn't something he was comfortable with. But Sarah encouraged him. Your story isn't just about what happened at the gas station, she said. It's about how you carry yourself, no matter where you are. On a crisp Friday evening, James stood before a room of veterans, their faces a mix of ages and experiences. Some had served in Vietnam, others in Desert Storm, and many more in Iraq and Afghanistan. James shared his story, not just about the gas station, but about the challenges of returning home, the memories he carried, and the importance of community. "It's not about being the toughest or the strongest," he said. "It's about remembering what we stand for, discipline, respect, and protecting what matters most. That's what I've learned." The room erupted in applause, and afterward, several veterans approached him, sharing their own stories and struggles. James realized he wasn't alone in the challenges he faced, and for the first time, he felt the weight of his experiences lift, even if just a little. Meanwhile, the three bikers were facing their own reckonings. Bear, whose bravado had shattered during the encounter, was sentenced to 18 months for outstanding warrants and assault. In prison, he wrote a letter of apology to James, which reached him weeks later. In it, Bear admitted, "I thought strength was about intimidation, but you showed me what real strength looks like. I'm sorry for disrespecting you and your uniform." Snake and Spike, facing shorter sentences, found themselves ostracized from their biker community. The Road Devils had made it clear. Anyone who disrespected veterans would find no place among them. The two men, stripped of their swagger, faded into obscurity, chastened by their encounter with James. Months turned into a year, and James found his rhythm in civilian life. He started working as a mentor for transitioning veterans, helping them navigate the challenges of returning home. He found purpose in guiding others, using his own experiences to offer support. Frank, true to his word, kept a pot of coffee brewing for every veteran who walked into his gas station. The place became a hub for shared stories and camaraderie, a living tribute to the bond between those who served. One day, James returned to the gas station, this time with Emma by his side. Frank greeted them warmly, pulling out his now famous USB drive to show the security footage. Emma watched in awe, her eyes wide as she saw her father handle the bikers with calm precision. "You're a real-life superhero, Daddy," she exclaimed. James chuckled, shaking his head. "Just someone doing his best to do the right thing, sweetheart." The story of James' actions continued to resonate far beyond the gas station. It became a lesson shared in police academies, military training programs, and even schools, a reminder that true strength lies not in aggression, but in restraint, discipline, and standing up for what's right. As James sat on his porch one evening, watching Emma play in the yard while Sarah watered the garden, he felt a deep sense of peace. The world wasn't perfect, and the memories of his time in combat would always be with him. But here, surrounded by the love of his family and the simple beauty of home, he knew he had found his own kind of victory. No headlines, no medals, just the quiet satisfaction of a life lived with purpose. And for James Miller, that was enough. Please note, this is not a real story. It is a work of fiction for education and entertainment purposes.